Alright, back again. I guess I should really consider this part 2 of my Super Nintendo collection. This is the Super Famicom, which was the Japanese original version, and I have to say that compared to the Super Nintendo, I prefer the look of the Famicom. I think it just looks sleeker. I think it looks... Oh, bumped the camera there. Sorry, guys. I think it looks sleeker. I think it looks... I don't know. It just looks... Maybe it's because it's foreign and we didn't get it, but I just really like the look of this. And I picked this up because there's a lot of games in America that we didn't get, and while you can go online nowadays and get, translated ROMs of the games, I still kind of wanted to have the original games in my collection and original Super Famicom in my collection. So let's just consider this part 2 of the Super Nintendo video, and I will go through what little games I have for the Super Famicom. We'll start off with my loose copies. I started buying loose games first for it, and then when I found out that box games were so cheap, I got into getting box games. And the first game I got here is Chrono Trigger. This game will run you like 40 bucks in America. This cost me like $3. RPGs in Japan are just a dime a dozen, so they're really cheap. The only problem is the language barrier, but if you've played Chrono Trigger and you have a manual or a game guide like I do for Chrono Trigger, this is not a bad way to go, And we got Dragon Quest VI, which I was really upset that we didn't get the Super Nintendo Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest games because they are fantastic. This copy is a little, as you can see maybe here, it's a little yellowed, but I remedied my not buying a box copy with a later part of the video. Then we got Final Fantasy IV, 5, and of course my favorite, 6. I really kind of wish I would have got box copies of these, but I have them now, and box copies would be nice, but they're not high on my priority list. Because how many copies of Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy VI can I honestly own? Final Fantasy V never came out here, and it's really a shame because with the job system in Final Fantasy V, it was a fantastic Final Fantasy. However, the storyline kind of suffered, whereas these two were more storyline based. Final Fantasy IV, I played it a lot, renting it from Blockbuster back in the day as Final Fantasy II. Most people say this is one of their favorite Final Fantasies. I really like this, but nothing compares to this. I pretty much have to own every version of this game, and getting a box copy of Final Fantasy VI is now a major priority for me, because this game right here, guys, is my favorite game of all time, if you didn't know. But yeah, I had to pick up copies of the Final Fantasies in original Japanese. And then finally, another game that I wish I had a box copy of, because I do love the Star Ocean series. But I had to get this because graphically, I think this is the best looking Super Nintendo game ever. The graphics in this are just astounding. And actually, this and Tales of Phantasia, which I don't own on the Super Famicom yet, actually had voice in them, and not just like Star Fox where it was like brr, 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 brr. It actually had people talking, which is mind-blowing at that time. But yeah, Star Ocean. And then we'll get into the boxed games, which boxed games for the Super Famicom are really easy to get a hold of and usually really cheap. Interestingly enough, the RPGs in Japan are really cheap, and the shmups or shooters are really expensive. Kind of backwards of here. But anyway, this is Bahamut Lagoon. It's a fantastic square RPG. It's kind of like a tactics RPG in a way, or a strategy RPG, but it kind of defies classification really. I played it a lot on my emulator, and I wanted to pick up a box copy of it because it is a fantastic RPG. And then next, we got my Dragon Quests. I got Dragon Quest III for the Super, Dragon Quest V, and Dragon Quest VI. Dragon Quest V actually has the best storyline of any Dragon Quest game ever. And I just beat Dragon Quest VI on the DS, and it was also fantastic. However, this is special to me because Dragon Quest III is my favorite Dragon Quest of all of them. I don't know what it is about it, but back in the day, having 4 people in your party, being able to pick whatever they wanted to be, and it was just a huge adventure. And then you got to that twist ending where you realized that you're playing as Erdrick from Legends of the first game. You know what I mean? It was a prequel to the first game. It was just it really really touched me back in the day. But so I had to pick up the Super Nintendo version, and it's a real shame that this didn't come out because these graphics are amazing. And then next we have Front Mission. Another game that is a shame we didn't get out here in the States, but you can pick up this game on the DS. So, and then I don't know how I'm going to do this on here. Maybe like this: Romancing Saga 1, Romancing Saga 2, and then Romancing Saga 3. Which some people say Romancing Saga 3 has the best graphics on the system. They are very good, but I don't think they touch Star Ocean really. But these are some interesting RPGs, more so in their play mechanics than anything else. Of course, if you know anything about the Saga series, you know it usually doesn't play by the rules, and sometimes that really puts it in a bad position, like Unlimited Saga on the PlayStation 2, which is probably the most hated RPG of all time. But had to get these because they're quite good. Another shame here, guys. Second Densetsu 3, or Secret of Mana 2, as it's called sometimes. Oh my god, guys. As much as I love Secret of Mana, this just kind of really is so much better. I mean, it's just a much more polished game, because Secret of Mana was originally supposed to be on the disc-based system, the disc-based add-on that they were going to put on the Super Nintendo, and then it eventually turned into the Sony PlayStation. But so it had to kind of cram everything into the cart, and it wasn't made for the cartridge from the get-go, so that's why the storyline is kind of bare bones, and the music is, but this, guys, this was built from the ground up to be on the cartridge, and they just did a fantastic job with it. And then another unfortunate game we didn't get, Terra Enigma, which this is actually the third part of the Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and then Terra Enigma trilogy. Interestingly enough, this was of that time, this was the equivalent to Xenoblade. Japan got it, Europe got it, we did not get it. So, there is precedent for Europe getting things that North America doesn't get, so, I mean, let's hope it doesn't go this way and we do get Xenoblade, but this is a fantastic action RPG for the system. The graphics are just amazing. I mean, I don't know how well that picks up, but yeah, this is something we really missed out on, guys. And then bringing an end to the Super Famicom collection, for right now at least, is Ys 4 and Ys 5. I have not picked up a box copy of Ys 3 yet, because since I have so many copies of Ys 3, it wasn't a priority at the time, but I really need to get it to finish the Super Nintendo Ys collection. But this is actually getting remade for the Vita, interestingly enough. So hopefully Xseed will bring that over here, and we'll finally get to play Ys 4 in English, even though there is an English ROM for this. This has not been fully translated yet, but this actually doesn't really feel like an Ys game, because interestingly, these weren't really developed by Falcom. They were kind of sourced out to different companies, and the company that made this kind of made it into a generic action RPG. It doesn't really feel like Ys, doesn't really look like Ys compared to this and like the TurboGrafx ones and stuff. So anyway, that is my Super Famicom collection. Just knocked over a whole bunch of Super Nintendo carts. I bought it mostly just to have, as more of a display piece, although I do really plan on playing some of these games, like the ones that I'm familiar with. Some of the ones that, like, say, Romancing Saga, I'll probably play on my emulator, so they're in English, but I do own the original copies, because, I don't know, I just think it's kind of important to have them as sort of a historic piece, sort of preserving them in my own collection for future generations, for my kids when I have kids, so when they are, interested in video games, I can show them all these old things, and they can just be like, oh, Dad, that sucks. But, anyway, that's my Super Famicom collection. I suggest going out and getting one of these. They're kind of fun to have. However, you don't need to have one. You can just, a little known fact, where did Super Nintendo go? Well, not a little known fact, but down in there are, on the camera, there we go, those two pins. There's two pieces of plastic that are sticking out. If you cut those out of your Super Nintendo, your Super Nintendo will play Famicom carts because there's no region locking. It was all physical locking out, or physical lockout, not region locking with a chip or anything. So, you really don't need to pick up one of these, but, I mean, just look at it. God, they're so cool looking. Alright guys, I'll see you next video.